So I've been enjoying the Elbaf arc just as much as the next guy, right? But one thing that sort of concerns me about the structure and future of this arc is the placement of this God Valley flashback. And what I mean by that is that for the past two arcs in One Piece, the big major hyped up flashback has been the piece of the story that finally sets up the main conflict and emotional stakes of it, and the story usually like kind of jumps straight into it afterwards, right? So in Wano, in Act 3, we got the Kozuki Oden flashback, and then it was Bam Raid on Onigashima. In Egghead, there was the whole Bonnie and Kuma flashback, and then it was like Bam, we're heading into the climax of Kuma coming in to save Bonnie and then fighting all the Gorosei up to the Bonnie become realizes she too can be Nika sort of story arc and like the climax of that arc, right? So now with this, and both of those flashbacks were flashbacks that were like hyped up throughout the arc, right? So but throughout Wano, Act 1 and 2, we were learning about Oden. He's this great guy, he has this great story. In Act 2, we were trying to figure out in Egghead, we were trying to figure out what is the truth behind Kuma's backstory and past. It was in that bubble and there was mystery built up to it. In this arc, what we were building up to was the story of Harold and the truth behind Loki and Harold's death and the God Valley flashback, right? Which has been hinted at for way longer, right? Arguably the most hyped of the three. But the issue is, if we're jumping into the God Valley, like if we're completing the God Valley flashback now, that's suggesting that we're getting into like the main conflict between Luffy, Loki's allies, maybe Shanks too, because Shanks is also appearing a lot in this flashback, versus Emu's God's Knights, who are antagonists in this flashback, servants of Emu, and also antagonists in the arc in general. But the issue is, I just feel like there was so much, so much more built up for this arc than just that. Like, what about all the development for Usopp's character? It's been attached to this arc all the way since Little Garden. The road poneglyph coming into play. Also a bunch of little threads that like are not necessarily necessary, but would be like interesting to follow up on, like what's going on with Kid. Maybe a connection to Big Mom somehow, who has like a lot of connections to Elbaf, and how her daughter was going to marry Loki. How does that factor in? I get that in the God Valley flashback, so I could see that. But there's just a lot of stuff where I'm like, wait a minute, we need to get a lot more out of this arc than it seems like we're gonna get. Let me know if you think I'm tripping, and follow for more anime and One Piece content.